Hey everybody, back again, video number 13, instructional videos. So I'm tackling a pretty big topic this morning. Today's topic is called Buddhism and simulation theory. So this is a super deep topic, and I think what my contention is today is that Tantric Buddhism is a style it relies on a certain similarity to simulation theory, and I'll explain how that is. So first of all, most people don't know about Tantric Buddhism at all, and they have no idea what it's about, and they generally think it's the opposite. Whenever people hear the word Tantra, they're like, oh, this is porno sex shit. And I'm like, dude, you have no fucking idea what you're talking about. Basically, Tantra incorporates all aspects of human life, good, bad, indifferent. No matter what you do, that's the whole thing. The whole point of Tantra is a web that combines every aspect of life, and it weaves all these different techniques together. Okay, so so in Tantra, all the sex shit and things that people think about, the hilarious thing is the joke's on them. That kind of Buddhism is only taught to what's considered basically like animals, people that are so dumb that they can't learn words or like actually practice the teachings, so they just have sex because that grabs their attention. That's the whole thing. The point of it's about attention and focus and maintaining a single pointed awareness on something, right? So if you're a dumb dog and you don't understand, like you have a dog dick for a brain, like you can't do anything else. So in a way that's good because they're reaching out to every segment of society to try and give them a teaching. But my point is, that's like 1% or less of Tantra, dude. It has nothing to do with it. And I'm going to explain all about what Tantra really is right now. Okay, so first of all, we're talking about simulation theory. Now, in Tantra, like you have a daily practice, okay? This is called a sadhana. And a sadhana is a Sanskrit word that means a method of accomplishment, right? And it's related to the word siddha or siddhi and siddhartha, Buddha. It means an accomplishment, right? All those words relate to an accomplishment. And a sadhana is the method of achieving the accomplishment, right? So a sadhana is like basically a daily practice. So how does this get into simulation theory? Okay, well, the daily practice is essentially to refine all your sense faculties and your mind. They're called indriyas in Sanskrit. So like all your sight, your vision, your hearing, everything, these are indriyas. They're powers of awareness that focus on different type of sensory object, right? And in this Vedic system, you have the sixth sense, which is a sense of imagination that kind of weaves together all the other senses, right? So like if you're going to imagine being somewhere, you imagine someone you love, like you know really well, you can smell them, you can hear the sound of their voice and their laughter, and you can see the lines on their face, and you have a multi-sensory immersive experience of their being, in essence, right? So basically this is what it is. It's an immersive experience, right? And so Buddhism in essence has this really trippy philosophy where there's called the vajrayana, and the vajrayana is timeless, changeless, and indestructible, and it pervades the reality that we have. So gradually through the process of this sadhana, what you're trying to do is make it so that you can be simultaneously aware of this atemporal vajra, indestructible immortality world, as well as being aware of the temporal world that we now exist in that has time and aging and impermanence, right? So in the Vajradhatu lives all these Vajra beings. And in essence, you could think of it as the ultimate refinement of every soul's essence ends up in the Vajradhatu. Like at the end of the road, when your karma is all exhausted, like through hell realms or through Deva realms or however you exhaust your karma, you know, at a point it's completely ends, and ultimately, inevitably, every being reaches a state of Buddhahood. It's just a question of how much time and suffering you have to go through, right? And so then there's what's called the Vajra path, which is like a lightning bolt. It's instantaneous, it's so fast, and it's indestructible. Nothing can obstruct its motion. It's perfect, you know what I mean? So basically, when you're doing the Vajrayana sadhana, you're trying to develop this type of clarity and awareness. So basically what you so it's all about visualization. So you offer this puja, and it's a visual, not only physical, but you can do it just in the mental visualization. So what you're doing is you imagine all these offerings to the deity, right, that correspond to our senses, right? So there's 6 indriyas, or sense powers, right? Including the imagination and the rest of the 5. So then you have these 6 lokas, right? 6 worlds or realms of all these different types of existence, right? And in a way, if you think about a 3-dimensional spatial matrix, you have 6 extremes of direction: front, back, left, right, up, down. 6, right? So I'm tripping out on this. But basically, what you do is you're perfecting these senses. Like, your goal is to become a vajra being, like a bodhisattva that has perfect wisdom, you know what I mean? And perfect skillfulness in all methods of activity, right? So in order to do that, you have to purify your sense faculties completely, and you have to see reality exactly as it is, with no delusion. And if you do that, everything you do will be perfectly successful and almost effortless. Like, it's just naturally partaking of this flow of energy that moves through all time and space, right? And so this is the theory, right? And in theory, like, every type of clairvoyance is achieved through this method. You know, in Buddhism, it's often described as like this clear crystal, right? Like a vajra is like an indestructible gemstone of perfect clarity, right? So it has no obscurations. It has nothing to cloud or filter or color the light that shines in it, or the images that are seen in it are perfectly lucid and clear, right? So this is the state that you're trying to get to. But once you enter into that state, it's like this weird quantum coherence field with the informational field that pervades all reality. So by ceasing all the mind loops and thought loops of your own consciousness, your mind becomes perfectly crystalline and transparent like a jewel. And every piece of information and knowledge throughout all time just appears in it effortlessly because it's perfectly clear. You see what I mean? There's no obscuration within it, right? So what's the method to accomplish this, right? So the method is you visualize, first of all, you visualize a perfect world and a perfect being within that world. So in this system, all these what are they called? Yidams, right? Yidams or Ishta Devatas, which is like your chosen deity. It's like kind of a vision of the perfected version of yourself. So as I've been referring to in these videos, in Buddhism, there's something called interdependency or codependent arising. It's called praticca samutpada, which means that everything comes into being based on cause and conditions and potentially will cease based on cause and conditions, right? Okay, so just like that same thing applies to these perfected beings, right? And so they have to have a space in which to exist, and this is what's called the mandala, right? So it's their Buddhaverse that they create through the perfect clarity of their mind, right? And so it's like a celestial palace or this perfect world, right? So in this world, it exists in a state of non-duality, which means within and without, like internal and external, self and other, it's all just these mirror images, man. So you have, every deity has this mantra and a bija, like a seed vibration. So they emanate the vibration of this bija, and it emanates their Buddhaverse. It emanates this perfect womb of existence that gives rise to this divine being's state, okay? And so you chant this mantra, and so this is getting into the science of vibrations, right? Thoughts are vibrations. All our senses come from vibrations, right? Like our eyes perceive light, which is electromagnetic vibration. Our ears perceive sound, which is electromagnetic vibration, right? Our sense of touch perceives temperature, which is a vibration. Okay, you're trying to get what I'm into? And then everything that passes through our senses is passing through electricity in our nerve cells, which again is this periodistic vibration of frequencies, right? So everything, our perception, we don't really have any experience of reality independent of perception. Like we may have intuition, but even that in turn can only express itself and communicate to us in terms of our senses and things that we've perceived in the past and present, right? So basically, all these vibrations are the mediator between the external world and the internal world. So what happens if you can biohack your vibrations? You can change your breath rate. That's pranayama. That's basic in Buddhism. And all forms of yoga have pranayama, right? Breath control, energy control. controlling the flow and the frequency of your breath and your heart rate. Super primary. Anybody can do that. Anybody. So the more you practice, okay, eventually you do that really well. And now you get into where you can actually control your brain states. Like you can speed up and slow down your brain waves. And you create shamatha, which is called this tranquil abiding, right? So if you imagine your brain waves as like a liquid, like waves on the ocean or in a pool, right? Those waves determine the activity of your brain. So through shamatha, you're like stilling those waves. Well, guess what? Here's what I was saying about quantum coherence. When the vibration reaches a point of stillness or very, very low vibration, that's that state of crystalline clarity that I'm talking about, where you're basically just tapping in to this background. They call it alaya vijnana in Buddhist theory. And it's basically like the ultimate substrate of mind. Like in physics, they have this concept of like the rest state, the minimum energetic state, where everything can exist without any input or expenditure of energy. And so this has some similarities to a quantum coherence field, right? So when your mind reaches a state of silence and stillness and clarity, right, everything can flow into it. Like whatever you want to know, whatever you attach your mind to through samadhi, you basically become it. You become at one with it. So this is clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, etc. You know what I mean? And this is how you get past life recall and all that stuff. But most importantly, in the initial phases, the biggest thing you want is empathy. You want to be able to relate to other people and other animals and energy and whatever's around you. You want to be open to it and sense it, because everything you do that is interdependent upon your surroundings, right? So you need to vibe to it. You need to relate to it and understand it and how the energy flow around you is moving. And that's what's going to allow you to be successful in your actions and to not expend energy, because you just can rely on the energy that's already present and the motion that's already happening, right? Okay, so back to the sadhana, you're getting beyond the barrier of duality between inner and outer, self and other. And it's through this vibration. So you're chanting this mantra and you're basically visualizing the seed or the core of this vibration emanating inside you in your heart, etc. There's theoretically, in the Tantra yoga, it's like all the meridians, all energy pathways in the body contain Sanskrit syllables or, Brahmi syllables, or they use, they use a lot? The Siddham scripts. So it's these little syllables, man. And that's vibrating through your energy channels and your mind, right? So you got internal and external vibrations. And how do they move in between inner and outer? Well, you vibrate, like your breath moves and your larynx vibrates and your lungs resonate and your sinus cavities resonate with this vibration. So that's the inner aspect. But then it emits out into the world through speech, actions of speech. And that, like I said before, it's not just literal speech. It's all our coded communications through body language, through creating music and art, through our vibe, through our stance and our posture and our hand gestures. And all this thing is a form of speech. Right? We're emanating a vibrational communication out into reality. And so what you get, what you give, basically. So it's like, if you're putting out positivity, you attract positivity. Okay? So this is super important. And this is something that I really want to get to, because I think our society right now is in a very diluted, like dark state of desire. Like our desires are very dark. We desire everything self-destructive because we're mirroring what's in our culture: sex and violence and greed. Okay, that's it. There's nothing else beautiful in our culture whatsoever. It's all sex, violence, and greed. Because that's the vibrational substrate that sustains our society, right? So what I'm saying is, to people, okay, Instagram, perfect example. Everyone's out there trying to project images of themselves, of their happiness or whatever. And so, okay, it's kind of lowest common denominator, as media has always been. Popular media is created to bring the culture down. Simple, okay? But it's always been this lowest common denominator. And now what we see is men and women going out trying to attract, right? They're trying to attract friends or whatever. And some people are better at it than others because their state's in a higher consciousness. But the vast majority of people are trying to attract the worst in humanity. Like women are trying to look slutty, and all they show is their body and all these different clothes and like all these different poses and like a million fucking selfies, dude. And it's like, what kind of person is that going to attract? It's going to attract a shallow narcissist who sees you as an object for their sexual gratification and wants to dispose of you as soon as they nut. or, you know, whatever the case is. They have a use for you as an object, right? And so that's what you're attracting by presenting yourself as an object and a commodity of desire. Or like, for anybody, males and females, like if they go out and they're like, oh, look at the stuff I bought, look at my new clothes, look at my new car, look at my new fucking bracelet, look at blah 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 blah, like always presenting these objects, right? That's emitting and attracting a materialistic vibration. So these men and women who are projecting these super low vibrational things out there, which is a majority of everybody does it. They try to be sexy, right? It's like, what are you attracting with that? Okay, what would happen if you go out and write a poem or compose a symphony or fucking paint a painting? Like, who are you going to attract with that? You can emit such a higher vibration than just being a commodity slave consumer, dude. And you can attract a much better person. You can attract someone much more intelligent who's looking for a person to manifest skill and wisdom and not just be a sex object. You know what I'm saying? Think about it, man. You get what you give. And so that's the message of the sadhana, and that's the message of Tantra. If your mind is like a pure fucking gem and it's crystal clear and good, that's what you get. That's what you attract. That's what you magnetize with your mental energy and your outer patterns, right? If you're low vibration, you attract people of low vibe. And you're in this echo chamber, basically, where you're like repeating and bounding around, and you can never evolve, and you can never bring anything new into your circle. And you're just in the dumbest of the dumb, and you're trying to fit in with them forever. And they show you what they value, and they give you likes and clicks and shares, and they're showing, oh, we value you because you're just like us. You're a low grade consumer narcissist who only sees your own self as a sex object. This is sad to me. This is so sad. Everyone has the potential of being a divine wisdom being and bringing benefit and bliss to everyone around them, but they don't do it. So that's sad to me. So everyone, make your life a daily practice to uplift and to emit what you want to attract, and try to improve yourself and all your skills and all your faculties and your intelligence and your skillful behavior. It's all about improving every day, making effort. Like lifting weights makes you stronger, right? Being kind makes you better at kindness. You know, being creative and intelligent and learning makes you smarter and have a better memory and have a better mental vocabulary of ideas in your mind. So this is what we should all be striving for, and that's how we're going to build a better world for everybody. It's going to, if you work on it and you gradually imagine this existence, it comes into being. That's how reality works. But most people are diluted and false, and they're just repeating the corrupt patterns that culture provides to them. And so they just replicate the crap society of violence, sex, and greed. So stop. Do something different. Practice a different type of reality, and it will come to be. Simple, right? Think about it.